Investigation. So earlier this morning, we had two SPD officers working off duty in the 1400 block of 3rd Avenue when they heard a rather large disturbance and people yelling. The people were running towards the officers, and they said that a bus driver had just been shot at the bus transit station there, the bus stop there. The officers advanced towards the bus, and as they were approaching, the bus driver came off the bus. He had obvious injuries, and one of the officers went to that bus driver to provide first aid. The second officer went on the bus looking for the possible suspect. People told the officer there that the suspect headed southbound on 3rd Avenue. The officer then gave chase, obviously asking for additional units. Excuse me. The officers pursued the suspect southbound on 3rd Avenue, where he came to University Street, and then turned right or went westbound down University Street. As the officer was pursuing, the suspect turned and fired at the officer at that time. The officers continued to give chase as the suspect went southbound on 2nd Avenue. The suspect entered a Metro bus a second Metro bus that was parked at 2nd Avenue and Seneca Street. He was able to get onto the bus. Several officers that were pursuing the suspect shot the suspect, and we believe hit the suspect, and the suspect has been taken to Harborview Medical Center with life-threatening injuries. The second bus driver was not injured during this call. The second bus was also occupied by a number of people, and at this time we asked fire to check a couple of people who were slightly injured with minor injuries. Two SPD officers have been treated by Seattle Fire and taken to Harborview Medical Center for non-life-threatening injuries. And as I said, we're actively investigating all three of these incidents, and because of that, traffic is going to be impacted around these areas for quite some time. I would like to say thank you to those people who were witnesses that stepped forward to support the victims in this, and also to stick around and give officers the information they need to complete the investigation here. As this progresses, we hope to give you another update here in about 3 or 4 hours. Please realize that it's going to take quite a bit of time to interview all the witnesses that were on both buses and anyone that might have been on the street that might have witnessed any of this. So at this time, that's our press. Do you have any questions?
Was the suspect shot in the driver's seat of that bus?
The suspect entered the front area of the bus, around the driver's area, and yes, that's where he was engaged.
So can you talk about that bus?
I can't answer that at this time. I don't have that information.
Can you talk about the opening fire on a bus that had passengers and people, and that decision that had to be made right then and there? Talk about that if you can.
Well, I can't say too much other than the officers are trained to make life and death decisions. In this case, I believe that they made the right choice considering the information that they came forward. But the detectives are going to look into all that information, and hopefully we'll be able to give you a little bit more later.
Was the suspect?
People were on both of the buses.
I don't have that information, but I know it's about 15 on the second bus.
Do you have a sense for how many witnesses you will be interviewing?
I don't know, but it's going to be a lot.
How were your officers injured?
Just a second.
Was the suspect still armed when he got on the second bus?
Yes, information at this point is the suspect was armed when he got on the bus.
The weapon has been recovered.
How were the officers injured?
2 minor injuries. At this point, I don't know what he's injured from, but it's not life-threatening minor injuries.
Were any of the officers able to make it onto the second bus, or did they have to shoot through the windshield?
That is investigative information. We're going to have to wait for the detectives to solidify that at a later date.
Any more on the
weapon?
initial?
Any details on the weapon?
What happened initially, and in terms of the initial on the other bus? In terms of, was he on it already? Was he getting on? Do we know?
All we know is that he was on the bus somehow and shot the bus driver. That's all we have right now. Pardon?
What was the weapon?
The detectives haven't given me the exact weapons that were used here today, but when we get them, we'll pass it on.
Do you believe he used more than one gun?
The suspect?
Yes.
I don't have any more information on that yet.
Was there any kind of a fair dispute in the original bus that led to the shooting?
With the background noise, I couldn't hear you.
Any sort of fair dispute on the first bus that led to the shooting?
The detectives are going to interview all the witnesses and determine exactly what happened. Fortunately, the bus driver hopefully will be able to give some really good information here in the future. Go ahead. Not that we know of, no ma'am. I don't have that information.
Did the suspect fire any shots on the second bus or in the vicinity of the second
Again,
bus?
the detectives have that information. We'll get that to you as soon as we can.
Is the suspect known to
I don't have his name yet, so I don't know.
And can you describe how close the suspect was as he got onto that door to the driver? Because it looks like it, I mean, it would have been a couple feet and bullets are flying through there.
Obviously, the bus isn't really large, but we don't have that information, and we have to wait to interview those witnesses. The people on the bus have been nice enough to work with us, and they're going to give information to the follow-up detectives on that.
With all the people around, I mean, it sounds like you guys came through pretty well. I mean, talk about how this played out and how it's all done now.
Well, obviously, it's a very dangerous situation. The subject came on the bus, shot someone, and then was running through the streets of Seattle. But I think the officers' early information did as good a job as they could, considering what they inherited. And unfortunately, they had to use lethal force.